The call came just as I was finalizing the biggest contract of my career. My phone buzzed with my mother's face lighting up the screen, and my stomach instantly knotted. Mom never called during business hours unless something was terribly wrong. "Livia, you need to come home right now. It's your sister. There's been an accident." My name is Livia, and at 30 years old, I'd built my marketing agency from nothing into a 7-figure business. But in that moment, none of it mattered. I grabbed my keys and rushed out of my office, leaving the contract unsigned on my desk. "What happened? Is Lexi okay?" I asked, my voice shaking as I sprinted to my car. "Just come quickly," Mom said before hanging up. The 40-minute drive home felt like an eternity. My hands trembled on the steering wheel as memories of Lexi flooded my mind. Despite our differences, she was still my baby sister. Just last week, she'd been gushing about her upcoming wedding to Caesar, showing off her massive engagement ring that probably cost more than his annual salary. I screeched into my parents' driveway and burst through the front door. "Mom? Dad? Where's Lexi?" The scene that greeted me stopped me cold. Lexi sat on the couch, perfectly fine, surrounded by wedding magazines. Mom hovered nearby with a guilty expression, while Dad avoided eye contact entirely. "Oh good, you're here," Lexi chirped, flipping through a bridal catalog. "I need your opinion on these centerpieces." My blood ran cold. "What accident?" "Well," Mom started, wringing her hands, "Lexi really needed you here for wedding planning, and we knew you wouldn't come if—" "Are you kidding me?" I cut her off. "I left an important meeting for this?" Lexi rolled her eyes. "Oh, please, it's just work. This is my wedding we're talking about." "Just work?" I laughed incredulously. "That just work paid for your college tuition when Mom and Dad couldn't afford it." "Girls, please," Dad finally spoke up from his armchair. "Lexi's wedding is important to all of us. Can't you take one afternoon off, Livia?" I pulled out my phone to check my emails, my heart sinking when I saw messages from my client about the missed meeting. "You don't get it. I had a $1 million contract signing today." "See?" Lexi gestured dramatically. "You're always so obsessed with money. This is about family." "Family doesn't lie to each other," I snapped. My phone buzzed again. A message from my office manager. "Client left. Said they'll be reconsidering the contract." "I have to go damage control this," I said, turning to leave. "Livia," Mom called after me, "don't you want to be part of your sister's special day?" I paused at the door. "Next time you want me to be part of something, try asking honestly instead of manipulating me with fake emergencies." "You're just jealous because I'm getting married first," Lexi shouted as I walked out. The drive back to my office was a blur of anger and frustration. My phone kept buzzing with texts from Mom and Lexi, but I ignored them all. Something felt off about today, beyond the obvious manipulation. Maybe it was the way Dad couldn't meet my eyes, or how Mom seemed more nervous than usual. When I finally reached my office, my assistant Valeria was waiting with a concerned look. "What happened with the contract?" I asked. "They're gone," she said quietly. "But Livia, there's something else. While you were gone, someone accessed our financial systems. The passwords were changed." I froze. "What? How is that possible? Only 3 people have that access. You, me, and—" The realization hit me like a truck. The fake emergency, the wedding planning distraction, it all made horrible sense. "Call Eugene," I told Valeria, my voice steel. "Tell him I need him here first thing tomorrow morning." As I sat at my desk, staring at the unsigned contract that could have secured my company's future, my phone buzzed one final time. A text from Lexi. "Thanks for coming home, sis. Can't wait to show you my wedding dress tomorrow." I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my laptop and started documenting everything. Something told me I'd need proof of every transaction, every document, every detail of what I'd built. Because for the first time in my life, I didn't trust my own sister. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of her betrayal. Eugene arrived at my office the next morning, looking grave. He'd been our family's attorney since I was a kid, but today he wasn't here as a family friend. "Show me everything," he said, setting his briefcase down. I pulled up my company's financial records on my computer screen. Yesterday, someone changed all our system passwords. This morning, I discovered large transfers had been made last week. Money I never authorized. Eugene leaned forward, adjusting his glasses. How much are we talking about? $3 million, almost everything we had. His sharp intake of breath told me everything. And you suspect Lexi? The timing's too perfect, I said, pulling out my phone to show him the texts. She created a fake emergency to get me away from the office right when my phone started ringing. It was Bailey, my younger brother. Liv, he said, his voice shaking. Have you seen the news? I put him on speaker and pulled up our local business news website. The headline made my blood run cold. Rising marketing agency acquired by wedding planning empire. What the hell? I whispered. There's more, Bailey continued. Lexi's been telling everyone at her wedding planning meetings that she's now CEO of a major marketing company. She's using it to attract investors for some kind of wedding-related business venture. Eugene was already typing furiously on his laptop. Livia, when was the last time you checked your business registration documents? 2 weeks ago, everything was normal. I pulled up the government business portal, logged in, and felt the room spin. This can't be right. There it was in black and white. Ownership had been transferred to Lexi Horton Enterprises, LLC. But how? I demanded. I never signed anything. Eugene's face darkened. Someone did. We need to get the original documents. My office door burst open and Valeria rushed in. Livia, you need to see this. She handed me her tablet, open to Lexi's social media. There was my sister, standing in my office behind my desk, captioning, "Big news, so excited to announce my newest venture. Thanks to my amazing sister for this incredible wedding gift." Wedding gift? I spat. My phone buzzed again. Mom. Livia, why aren't you answering Lexi's calls? She's trying to discuss the company transition with you. What company transition? I demanded. Mom, she stole my business. Don't be dramatic, Mom sighed. She said you agreed to help fund her wedding. It's what sisters do. What sisters do? I built this company from nothing. While she was partying through college, I was working 18-hour days. Well, maybe if you hadn't been so obsessed with work, you'd have someone special in your life too, Mom said coldly. Lexi's wedding is important to this family. I hung up, my hands shaking with rage. Eugene cleared his throat. Livia, we need to move fast. I'm filing an emergency injunction, but we need proof of fraud. I have security cameras, Valeria offered, including the day Lexi visited last month. We pulled up the footage. There I was, in a meeting with clients. And there was Lexi, slipping into my office while I was distracted. The camera caught her rifling through my desk drawers, but the angle didn't show what she took. Bank statements, I realized. She needed my signature to forge. Bailey's voice came through the phone, still on speaker. Liv, there's something else. Lexi's been collecting investments from wedding guests. She's promising them huge returns after the wedding, saying she'll use your company's profits. Eugene's head snapped up. That's securities fraud. How many investors? At least 50, Bailey said. Most of them put in their life savings. My stomach churned. This wasn't just about me anymore. Lexi had dragged innocent people into her scheme. Eugene, I said quietly, what are my options? He closed his laptop. Legally, we fight, but it'll be messy, public, and could take months, during which time she'll have control of your company. And the investors? If they lose their money, they could sue both you and Lexi, since she's using your company's name. I stood up, walking to the window of what might no longer be my office. Then we need something faster than legal action, something that forces her to undo this before the wedding. What are you thinking? Valeria asked. I turned back to face them, my mind made up. If Lexi wants to make this about her wedding, then that's exactly where we'll hit her. Bailey, I need everything you can get about these investors. Eugene, keep working on the legal angle. Valeria, yes? Clear my schedule, we're going wedding planning. I stormed into my parents' house that evening, clutching a stack of documents Eugene had prepared. The whole family was gathered for another wedding planning session, including Lexi's fiancé, Caesar. Oh, there you are, Lexi beamed, acting as if nothing was wrong. We were just discussing the investor dinner next week. You'll be there to help present, right? Investor dinner? I looked directly at Caesar. Did she tell you where the investment money is really going? Caesar frowned. It's for our wedding venue chain. Lexi said you're partnering with us. Is that what she told you? I slammed the documents on the coffee table. These are bank statements showing $3 million transferred out of my company last week. Money that's already gone to pay for your wedding. Livia! Mom stood up, hands on her hips. Stop trying to ruin your sister's happiness. Happiness? I laughed bitterly. Let's talk about the 50 people who invested their life savings in this scheme. Did you tell them, Lexi, that you're using their money for flower arrangements and a designer dress? Lexi's face paled slightly, but she recovered quickly. Don't be ridiculous. The company transfer was a gift. You signed the papers yourself. I never signed anything, I said, pulling out another document. But someone forged my signature. Want to explain that? Dad finally looked up from his newspaper. Forged? Lexi, what is she talking about? She's lying. Lexi jumped up, her voice shrill. Mom, tell her to stop. Actually, Bailey spoke up from the corner where he'd been quietly observing. I have proof. He pulled out his phone and played a recording. Lexi's voice, clear as day, promising an elderly couple a 300% return on their investment through her marketing company. Caesar stood up slowly. Babe, what's going on? You told me your sister was handling the business side. She is, Lexi insisted, but her voice wavered. Livia's just jealous because I'm finally more successful than her. Successful? I stepped closer. You stole my company. You're scamming innocent people. That's not success. That's fraud. It's not fraud, Lexi screamed. I deserve this. Do you know how hard it is being your sister? Perfect Livia, who built her own business, who always does everything right. This is my chance to have something of my own. By stealing what I built? Girls, please, Dad tried to intervene. We can work this out as a family. Can we? I turned to him. Because last I checked, family doesn't commit identity theft. Family doesn't forge signatures. And family definitely doesn't steal $3 million. Mom started crying. Livia, why can't you just help your sister? It's her wedding. A wedding she's funding with stolen money and fake investments. These people could lose everything. Caesar grabbed his jacket. I need some air. This is too much. Caesar, wait, Lexi called after him as he headed for the door. It's not what you think. Then what is it? He asked, pausing. Because it sounds like you've been lying to everyone, including me. The room fell silent as he left. Lexi turned on me, tears streaming down her face. You've ruined everything. This was supposed to be perfect. Perfect? I pulled out my phone. Should I call the investors? Let them know their money is gone? Or maybe the police? You wouldn't dare, Mom gasped. Try me. I met Lexi's eyes. You have 24 hours to transfer everything back and come clean to the investors, or I go public with everything. You can't prove anything, Lexi said, but her voice trembled. Bailey stood up. Actually, we can. I've been recording every investment meeting for the past week. Every promise, every lie. You little snake. Lexi lunged at him, but Dad held her back. Enough, he shouted. For the first time in my life, I saw real anger in his eyes. Lexi, is this true? Did you steal from your sister? Lexi's facade finally cracked. I just needed the money. The wedding was getting so expensive, and everyone expected it to be perfect. 24 hours, I repeated, turning to leave. Oh, and Lexi, I'd start calling wedding vendors to cancel, because one way or another, this fairy tale is over. As I walked out, I heard Mom start sobbing harder and Dad demanding answers from Lexi. Bailey followed me to my car. That was intense, he said quietly. It's not over, I replied, starting the engine. She's not going to give up that easily. What are you going to do? I checked my phone, seeing missed calls from 3 different investors. I'm going to make sure she faces consequences for once in her life, even if it means destroying this family in the process. Valeria paced my living room, phone in hand, reading messages from our business contacts. 3 more investors called. They're getting nervous because Lexi isn't returning their calls. Of course she isn't, I said, checking my watch. 18 hours left until my deadline. My phone buzzed. Caesar calling. I put him on speaker. Livia, he sounded exhausted. I've been going through Lexi's papers. This is worse than we thought. She promised some investors returns of up to 500%. That's impossible, Valeria gasped. Even in our best year, we never cleared more than 40% profit. She's been showing them fake projections, Caesar continued, using your company's letterhead. There's more. She's already spent most of the investment money on wedding deposits. Non-refundable ones. I rubbed my temples. How much are we talking about? 2.8 million. The venue alone was nearly $1 million. Eugene, who'd been quietly reviewing documents at my dining table, looked up. That's securities fraud, wire fraud, and identity theft. She's looking at serious prison time. My phone buzzed again, Mom calling. I ignored it. What about the other investors? I asked Caesar. The ones Bailey recorded? Another 4 million, promised for after the wedding. Lexi told them the money would fund a chain of luxury wedding venues. She showed them fake property listings and everything. A knock at my door made us all jump. Bailey burst in looking panicked. Lexi's doing damage control, he said, pulling up social media on his tablet. Look. There was my sister, tears streaming down her face, recording a live video. I just wanted to address the horrible rumors my sister is spreading. Yes, she gifted me her company as a wedding present, but now she's trying to take it back. She's always been jealous of my happiness. Turn it off, I snapped. Eugene, options? We go nuclear, he said, pulling out a fresh stack of papers. I've prepared criminal complaints, civil suits, and... Another knock interrupted him. This time, when I opened the door, I found Dad standing there, looking older than I'd ever seen him. Can we talk? He asked quietly. I let him in. He took in the scene. Eugene with his legal papers, Valeria with her phone, Bailey with his tablet, and Caesar on speaker. I had no idea, he said, sinking into a chair. All these years we enabled her, made excuses, but this... He pulled out an envelope. I found these in her old room, copies of your signature she'd been practicing forging. Eugene took the envelope. This is exactly what we needed, proof of premeditation. Dad, I said softly, you know what has to happen now. He nodded slowly. Your mother won't accept it. She's still defending Lexi, saying we should just give her the money to make this go away. It's not just about the money anymore. Caesar spoke up from the phone. She lied to everyone, including me. Mr. Gonzalez, Eugene said, we're filing charges tomorrow morning unless Lexi returns everything and comes clean to the investors. As her father, you might want to encourage her to cooperate. Dad stood up, straightening his shoulders. I'll talk to her, but Livia? He turned to me. Whatever happens, you're right to do this. I'm sorry we didn't see it sooner. After he left, Valeria checked her phone again. Lexi's video is going viral. People are taking sides. Let them, I said, turning to Eugene. What's our next move? We need to protect the remaining investors, he replied. Stop them from putting in more money. Bailey, can you get me those recordings? Bailey nodded, but then froze, staring at his phone. Guys, you need to see this. He held up his screen. A new email from Lexi to all the investors. Emergency meeting tomorrow morning. Exciting new developments in our venture. Bring your checkbooks. Final chance to invest before we close funding. She's going to take more money, Valeria whispered. No, I grabbed my keys. She's not. Bailey, forward that email to Eugene. Valeria, call every investor on our list. Warn them. Caesar, can you meet us at the venue she booked for this meeting? I'll be there, he confirmed. But Livia, what are you going to do? I looked at the stack of legal documents Eugene had prepared, then at the forged signatures Dad had brought. Years of enabling Lexi had led to this moment. Time to end it. I'm going to give my sister exactly what she wants, I said. A public scene she'll never forget. As we headed out, my phone buzzed one final time. A text from Lexi. You can't stop this. I always get what I want. See you at the meeting, sis. I showed the message to Eugene. He smiled grimly. Perfect. Now we have proof she's continuing the fraud despite warnings. Shall we proceed with the restraining order? No, I replied. Let her have her meeting. It's time everyone saw the real Lexi. The hotel ballroom was packed with potential investors when I arrived. Lexi stood at the podium, radiant in a designer dress, while Mom sat in the front row beaming with pride. Neither of them had noticed me slip in with Eugene and Valeria. As you know, Lexi was saying, our luxury wedding venue chain is an incredible investment opportunity. My sister's marketing company, which she generously gifted to me, will ensure maximum exposure. That's interesting, I called out, stepping forward. Tell them about the gift, Lexi. Show them the paperwork. The room fell silent. Lexi's smile flickered but didn't fade. Livia, I'm so glad you came, she said sweetly. Everyone, this is my sister, who's been so supportive of my dreams. Actually, I pulled out my phone. Let's talk about those dreams, and the $3 million you stole. Security! Mom stood up, pointing at me. Remove her! I wouldn't. Eugene stepped forward, holding up his badge. Federal investigation in progress. Everyone stay seated. The crowd started murmuring. An elderly man in the third row stood up. What investigation? Ms. Lexi promised us guaranteed returns. There are no guaranteed returns, I said loudly, because there is no wedding venue chain. The money you've already invested, it's gone, spent on her personal wedding. That's a lie, Lexi screamed, mask finally cracking. Mom, make her stop. I have proof, I continued, nodding to Valeria, who started playing the security footage on the projector. There was Lexi sneaking into my office, practicing my signature, making transfers. The crowd erupted. We want our money back, someone shouted. Please, everyone calm down, Lexi pleaded. This is just a misunderstanding. My sister is jealous because what? Caesar stepped in from the back. Because you committed fraud? Because you lied to everyone, including me? Caesar, Lexi's eyes widened. Baby, I can explain. Explain the fake properties? He held up his phone. The ones you showed investors? I called every single realtor. None of them are for sale. More shouts from the crowd. Mom rushed to the podium, trying to shield Lexi. My daughter would never lie, she insisted. Livia is trying to ruin her wedding. Mrs. Gonzalez, Eugene stepped forward. Your daughter forged signatures, committed wire fraud, and stole millions. The FBI is very interested in this case. The FBI? Lexi's face went white. Unless, I said clearly, you return every dollar by noon tomorrow and confess everything to these people right now. Lexi looked around frantically, seeing angry faces everywhere. I just wanted a perfect wedding. Everyone expected so much. My retirement savings! An elderly woman cried out. I trusted you. I can fix this, Lexi insisted. Just give me more time. If everyone here invests today. That's enough, a new voice cut through the chaos. Dad walked in, followed by 2 police officers. Lexi, it's over. Daddy? Lexi's voice went small. You called the police? You need help, he said firmly. This has to stop. The officers approached the podium. One of them spoke. Ms. Lexi Horton, we have a warrant for your arrest on charges of fraud and identity theft. No, Mom tried to block them. You can't do this. It's almost her wedding day. Mom, I said quietly, let her face the consequences, for once. As the officers led Lexi away, she turned to me, mascara streaming down her face. I hate you. You've ruined everything. No, Lexi, you did that yourself. The investors swarmed Eugene, demanding information about recovering their money. Caesar slipped out quietly, engagement ring left on a table. Mom collapsed in tears while Dad tried to comfort her. Bailey appeared at my side. That was intense. It's not over, I replied, watching Lexi being escorted out. The criminal charges are just beginning. What about the company? Eugene's filing for emergency restoration of ownership tomorrow, but the damage to our reputation. We'll rebuild, Valeria said firmly. Your clients trust you, not her. As the ballroom emptied, Mom approached me, eyes red. Are you happy now? You've destroyed your sister's life. No, Mom, I stopped her from destroying more lives. I turned away, then paused. You might want to start canceling wedding vendors. Something tells me there won't be a ceremony next month. Walking out, I heard Dad calling my name, but I didn't turn back. The family I'd known was gone, shattered by Lexi's actions and years of enabling. But as I left the hotel, I felt lighter somehow. The truth was finally out. My phone buzzed, a text from Eugene. "Ready for tomorrow's court appearance?" "Ready," I replied. "Time to make it official." The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters when I arrived the next morning. Lexi's scandal had made the local news, and everyone wanted details about the socialite bride-turned-fraudster. "Ms. Horton," they called out, "how does it feel to be betrayed by your own sister?" I pushed through with Valeria and Eugene flanking me. Inside, Bailey was already waiting. "Heads up," he whispered. "Mom's here with Lexi. She managed to post bail last night." "How?" I asked. "Sold her jewelry collection," Bailey replied. "Every last piece, including Grandma's diamonds." Before I could respond, Lexi appeared with her court-appointed attorney. Gone were the designer clothes and perfect makeup. She looked small in her plain black suit, dark circles under her eyes. "Livia," she said quietly. "Can we talk? Please?" I looked at Eugene, who nodded. 5 minutes, in there." He pointed to an empty conference room. Inside, Lexi's composure cracked. "I can fix this. I just need more time. If you drop the charges..." "Drop the charges?" I cut her off. "What about the investors? The people whose lives you nearly ruined?" "I'll pay them back. Eventually. She twisted her hands. "I couldn't stand being the failure anymore. You were always so successful, and I was just... me." "So you stole my success instead of building your own? You don't understand. Everyone expected this amazing wedding. Caesar's family is wealthy. I had to prove I belonged." "And now Caesar's gone," I said flatly. "The money's gone. Your reputation's gone. Was it worth it?" Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I'm your sister. Doesn't that mean anything?" It meant everything. That's why this hurts so much. A knock at the door. Eugene. "They're ready for us." In the courtroom, Mom sat in the front row, clutching her purse. Dad wasn't there. According to Bailey, he hadn't spoken to anyone since yesterday. The judge reviewed the evidence: forged documents, bank transfers, investor testimonies. Lexi's attorney tried arguing for leniency, citing her clean record and family connections. Then the prosecutor stood up. "Your Honor, we've received new evidence. Ms. Lexi Horton attempted to solicit additional investments yesterday, even after being confronted with her fraud." The judge's expression darkened. "Is this true, Ms. Horton?" Lexi looked at her attorney, then at Mom, then finally at me. Something in her broke. "Yes," she whispered. "It's all true. I stole the money. I forged the signatures. I lied to everyone." Mom let out a sob. The judge shuffled his papers. "Given the admission of guilt and the severity of the charges, I'm setting this for criminal trial. In the meantime, regarding the emergency motion for business ownership restoration..." He signed several documents. "The company is returned to Ms. Livia Horton, effective immediately. Additionally, a restraining order is granted, preventing Ms. Lexi Horton from any contact with the business or its clients." Lexi slumped in her chair. Her attorney leaned over, whispering urgently about plea deals and cooperation agreements. As we left the courtroom, Mom blocked my path. "How could you do this to your own sister? How could you enable her for so long?" I shot back. "This is where your favoritism led." "She's facing prison time," Mom hissed. "She's facing consequences," I corrected. "Maybe for the first time in her life." Bailey appeared, touching my arm. "Dad's here. He wants to see you both." We found him sitting in the courthouse garden, looking older than his years. "I've been thinking," he said as we approached, "about where we went wrong, how we created this mess." "Robert, don't," Mom started. "No, Stephanie, we did this. We taught Lexi that she could take whatever she wanted, that rules didn't apply to her, that her sister's success was somehow hers to claim." He stood up, facing me. "I'm sorry, Livia, for every time we dismissed your hard work, for every time we made excuses for her behavior, for failing both of you as a father." Mom started crying again, but this time they were different tears. Reality was finally sinking in. "The investors," Dad continued, "how much do they need?" $7 million total, I replied, plus interest. He nodded. "I'm selling the house. It won't cover everything, but it's a start. Your mother and I will find an apartment." "Robert," Mom gasped. "It's done, Stephanie. We helped create this mess. We'll help fix it." As they walked away, Valeria touched my shoulder. "You okay?" I watched my parents leave, thinking about family dinners that would never happen again, holidays that would be forever changed, trust that might never be rebuilt. "No," I answered honestly, "but I will be." My phone buzzed. Eugene had sent the court documents officially returning my company. It felt like the end of something, but also the beginning. "Let's go," I told Valeria. "We have a business to rebuild." 3 weeks later, I sat in my office reviewing the damage reports. Most clients had stayed loyal after learning the truth, but rebuilding trust took time. A knock at my door interrupted my thoughts. "There's someone here to see you," Valeria said softly. "One of the investors." The elderly woman who entered looked familiar. She'd been at Lexi's investor meeting. Her name was Margaret, and she'd lost her retirement savings. "I wanted to thank you," she said, settling into the chair across from my desk. "The first repayment came through yesterday." I nodded. "Dad sold the house. The money's being distributed proportionally to all investors." "That's not why I'm here." Margaret leaned forward. "Your sister's sentencing is tomorrow. Will you be there?" My stomach tightened. "I haven't decided." "I'll be there," she said, not out of anger anymore, but because someone needs to witness consequences. My late husband always said that's how people learn. My phone buzzed, Bailey calling. "Excuse me," I said to Margaret, answering the call. "Liv," his voice was urgent. "Mom's at my apartment. You need to come." 20 minutes later, I walked into Bailey's living room to find Mom surrounded by photo albums, mascara streaking her face. "Look at these." She thrust a photo at me. "Lexi's 5th birthday. You helped her blow out the candles. You were always protecting her, and now I'm protecting everyone else from her," I finished. "Mom, this isn't helping." "They're saying 5 to 7 years," she whispered. "My baby girl." Bailey caught my eye, mouthing, "Dad's coming." Sure enough, Dad arrived minutes later. He looked different, thinner, grayer, but somehow stronger. "Stephanie," he said gently, "the apartment's ready. We should go." "I'm not leaving my photos." "The photos can come," he assured her, "but we need to face tomorrow with dignity, for both our daughters." Mom looked up at me. "Will you be there? Please, Livia. She's asking for you." I thought of Margaret's words about witnessing consequences. "Yes," I said finally. "I'll be there." The next morning, the courtroom was packed. Investors, former wedding guests, local media. Caesar sat in the back looking uncomfortable but determined. Lexi entered in handcuffs, wearing prison orange. She'd lost weight, her designer highlights growing out. When she saw me, her eyes filled with tears. The judge cleared his throat. "Ms. Lexi Horton, you stand convicted of multiple counts of fraud, identity theft, and wire fraud. Before sentencing, you may make a statement." Lexi stood shakily. I've had time to think in jail, about who I am and what I've done. To the investors, I'm sorry. To my fiancé, I'm sorry. To my parents, I'm sorry." She turned to face me. "And to my sister, I'm most sorry to you. I didn't steal your business because I needed it. I stole it because I wanted to be you, strong, successful, respected. But I took the easy way, and I destroyed everything." The judge nodded. "Given your cooperation in recovering funds and your guilty plea, I sentence you to 5 years in federal prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release. You will continue to make restitution to your victims." Mom started crying. Dad held her hand. Bailey squeezed my shoulder. As they led Lexi away, she called out, "Livia, the journals. In my room. Please read them." That evening, I sat in my childhood bedroom reading Lexi's journals. Pages and pages of comparison, jealousy, and twisted admiration. The last entry, dated just before the theft, read, "Maybe if I take her life, I'll finally be worth something." A text from Caesar. "Just checked on the last investor repayments. Your parents' house sale covered 60%. I'm selling the ring to help with the rest." Another from Eugene. "Final paperwork filed. Your company's legally protected now. No one can ever transfer ownership without multiple verifications. And finally, one from Bailey. Mom settling into the apartment, Dad's talking about therapy. For all of us, if you're interested. I closed Lexi's journal and looked around my old room. Photos of two sisters who used to share secrets and dreams. Now one sat in prison while the other picked up the pieces. My phone buzzed again. Margaret. Thank you for being there today. Healing starts with truth. I texted back. Thank you for showing me what strength looks like. Standing up, I gathered Lexi's journals. 5 years was a long time, long enough for healing, maybe even forgiveness. But not today. Today was for rebuilding, one piece at a time. As I left my childhood home for the last time, I deleted the draft message I'd been holding on to. I forgive you. Some words needed to be earned, not given. And Lexi had 5 years to earn them. The morning sun streamed through my office windows as I reviewed the final investor repayment reports. Every cent had been returned, with interest. The last check, written by Dad from his retirement fund, had cleared yesterday. My phone buzzed, a text from Bailey. Turn on the news. I clicked the TV on just in time to see Lexi being interviewed from prison. She looked different, humbler, her designer aesthetic replaced by simple prison clothes and no makeup. I deserved this sentence, she was saying. My sister wasn't just protecting her business, she was protecting people from me. I see that now. Valeria walked in, carrying coffee. Is that? Yeah, I muted the TV. First interview since sentencing. Have you read her letters? I glanced at the stack of unopened envelopes on my desk. One for every week she'd been inside. Not yet. Your mom called, Valeria said softly. The therapy sessions are helping. Your dad's even starting to smile again. The intercom buzzed. Ms. Horton, Margaret is here to see you. Margaret walked in, looking energized. Behind her came several other former investors. We have a proposal, she said, sitting down. Those of us who got our money back, we want to reinvest. Properly this time, in your company. I blinked. After everything that happened? Because of everything that happened, another investor spoke up. You showed integrity when it mattered most. That's rare in business. My phone buzzed again. Cesar this time. Saw Lexi's interview. She meant every word. The woman I fell in love with never existed, but maybe the one she's becoming does. A knock at my door revealed Eugene with more papers. Final legal clearance came through. Your company's protection protocols are ironclad now. No one can ever pull this kind of theft again. I looked at the investors, then at the letters from Lexi, then at the TV where my sister's interview was still playing silently. Before we discuss investment terms, I said to Margaret, I need 30 minutes. Alone in my office, I opened the first letter from Lexi. Dear Livia, prison gives you time to think. Too much time. I think about how I spent my whole life competing with you instead of learning from you, how I chose shortcuts instead of hard work, how I blamed you for being better instead of trying to be better myself. The second letter. The therapist here says I have narcissistic tendencies, that I saw your success as something I could steal rather than earn. She's right. The third. Mom visited today. She's different, stronger somehow. Dad too. Maybe we're all growing. Letter after letter showed change, real change. Not excuses or manipulation, but genuine reflection. My phone rang. Mom. I saw the interview, she said quietly. Did you? Yes. She's different, Livia. The entitled girl we created. She's gone. Your father and I were trying to be different too. I know, Mom. Will you ever forgive us? I looked at the investors waiting in my lobby, at Valeria managing the day's tasks, at Eugene organizing legal protections for my company's future. I already have, I replied, but trust takes longer than forgiveness. That's fair, Mom said. Oh, Bailey's here for dinner. We're cooking together now, can you believe it? Would you like to join us? I thought about declining, about maintaining distance, but healing happens in small steps. Text me the address, I said. I'll bring dessert. After hanging up, I buzzed Valeria. Send the investors in, and call Margaret's financial advisor. We'll need help structuring this properly. As people filed in, I opened my laptop to draft one final email. Dear Lexi, I saw your interview. I've read your letters. You're right. You deserved consequences. But you also deserve the chance to rebuild, just like I did. Just like our family is doing. I can't forget what happened, but I'm choosing to focus on what's happening now. Mom and Dad are healing. The investors are whole. My business is stronger. And you're finally doing the work to become someone better. I'm not ready to visit yet, but I'm ready to read your letters. Keep writing. Livia. I hit send, then turned to the investors. Let's talk about building something together. The right way this time. As the meeting began, I glanced at the TV. They were replaying Lexi's final quote. Success isn't something you take, it's something you earn. I learned that the hard way, but I learned it. I turned back to my future, ready to earn whatever came next.